Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Overlay, a poker podcast brought to you by CCG Poker, Chicagoland's #1 live charity poker experience. I'm Ken, your hostess with the semi-mostess. What up, Brando?
I mean, you got the most hair.
I do have the most hair. Actually...
No, I got a haircut yesterday, so...
Oh, then I have more hair. There are times it ebbs and flows. I actually need a haircut. I have family pictures coming up on Saturday, which is not the reason why we don't have an event. That was a paperwork snafu, just so the podcast listeners can hear that first. But I did have family pictures already planned, but I got to get a haircut, and I'm just like, shit.
Yeah.
It's a rough one, because you know those pictures are going to be out for like the next 50 years.
Yeah, they'll be at your funeral.
Oh, fuck, Brando, don't say that. But, I mean, it's true. It's true.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
It's true.
Right.
It's like, this is when my dad was handsome and he had all this hair before it all turned gray.
Question. I know where you go to get your haircut. Do you get it from the same person every time?
Yeah. Same lady.
Okay.
Same lady.
All right.
Same lady. It's like a Supercuts. It's not Supercuts, but it's like a Supercuts. Great clips, sport clips, whatever. But I only go to one lady, and she's super nice,
sure.
And she gets a ton of people, and it's great for me because it's like less expensive. And I do go like every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I go a lot.
But
Anyways.
see, I go like once every 6 or 8 weeks, but it costs me, it's $100 for the cut. You know?
Right. So we're paying the same. It's just I go 3 extra times to get smaller trims.
For
Anyways, welcome to the Hair Podcast with Brandon and Ken. That's not what today's episode is about, but we're going to get to the episode show. I will also like to say now, as of today, October 23rd of 2024, The Overlay, a poker podcast, is now live on YouTube. So you can listen to the podcast on YouTube, which is pretty cool. I dig it. Are you excited, Brandon?
I'm pretty excited. I mean, I still don't
kinda...
understand why YouTube, you can't close the YouTube browser and still listen to music in 2024.
Yeah.
But,
well, it's not ideal, but at least it's up there. It's another spot you can find it. If you search for The Overlay on YouTube, it should come up. Overlay, a poker podcast, live Googling from Ken. Boom. The Overlay, a poker podcast shows up. And Liam shows up third. Behind the Felt interview with Liam. Hey, everybody. This is Liam and Ken.
I like Liam.
I do, too. He's an awesome. I thought we would see him more during the mix series, but I think he's out running around with Run Good.
He was there on Friday.
Oh, he was?
Obviously, there was no mixed game on Friday.
Right.
But he was there Friday, and then he was traveling to Montreal, I believe. So doing whatever is in Montreal.
God bless him. I love him. He's great. He's living the dream right now. Winning poker events, being on poker news, doing media. He's doing vlogs now. It's amazing. I dig it. Okay. Episode 108 is today's episode. We're going to talk about last outs.
Yes.
Which I think was like the 3rd or 4th episode that we ever did. So back when, during COVID, when we weren't looking at people or talking to people or worried about germs and wiping down our groceries. Boy, did that fucking not last long. There were like these memes that were coming out. They're like, Mom, why is Grandpa wiping down the groceries? Oh, honey, he lived through COVID. Like, that's just what they did back then.
Yeah. So
do you remember?
So good.
Do you remember that shit coming over to the grocery store like a biohazard suit, and I'm wiping down the fucking milk? Like, come on, Kenny.
Yep.
What was I thinking? What an idiot. Hey, vote accordingly, folks. Episode today. Last outs. Last outs, last longers, bust-o-matics. Are there any other slang terms that I don't know about?
No, I think that covers them all.
Yep. Last outs. Brandon, what exactly is a last out?
See, this subject kind of fires me up because,
well,
we'll get there.
Okay.
But a last out is simply just a unraked side bet amongst a group of players, a subgroup of players that are in the tournament.
Correct.
And the idea is to last longer than all of them to win the pot.
So you don't have to win the tournaments to win money. You just have to outlast the other players in your pool of players. And there's typically a couple of different last outs, and they range in prices, right? Like 10, a 20, a 50, 100, depending on the tournament. Maybe it's $1,000 last out. You never know.
Yeah.
And
I mean, typically 200,
extra money in the prize pool.
500 in our mains, but yeah.
Yeah. It's extra money in the prize. I take that back. It's a side pool of money that not the entire player pool is going to be in, which means you might be able to get down to the final like 20 people and realize, oh shit, I'm the last one available in the $50 last out, which means I win the $50 last out, and there were 12 people in there, which means I just banked $600 for a $50 entry, and like I already cashed in this tournament, and it's like now I can actually just. But now if I cash in the tournament, it's great. And my other last outs are still live, and there's only 2 guys left in that one. And then you hear hey, man, you want to chop to 20? Yeah, how much is it? It's 400. Cool, chop it, 200 each? Yeah, cool, great, fine, good. That one's done. Aaron, do this. Billy, do that. There's always a person in charge of the last out, and I do want to talk about that because you do have to make sure that you trust the person who's doing the last out because that can be troublesome.
Yes. Luckily at CCG, it is handled by a very...
trustworthy individual. Person. Right. You don't have to worry about it. It's the guarantees of guarantees. I, on the other hand, will tell you a story of innocent, youthful Ken.
God, you love this story.
It was 2008, and the world was great, and the economy was booming, and new President Barack Obama had just taken in office, and we were all very excited. The housing market was crazy. People at Wells Fargo could get mortgages with no social security number, no ID, and not even showing up to Wells Fargo. They're just like, here's $750,000. You could buy a house.
Enjoy your new house.
Fucking fan. Oh, it's your third one? Don't worry about that, Mr. Smith. Sounds great. And we all know how that worked out. But I played in the first WSOP at the Horseshoe, the $2,500 PLO tournament, which they have never done again. Never done it. There were like 30 people. And I know I love telling the story, but it's a wildly naive, I guess. I just trusted these folks. Guy's coming around in the first level, and he's like, hey, we're doing $1,000 last out. Who wants in? And I was like, I'm in. And I get in and just give this random Serbian guy $1,000 and hope to see it at the end of the day. And then I got down to only 5 players. All 5 of us were in the last out. And I was pretty trustworthy because I have actually no idea who was in, who was out, which does get weird when you start gambling with strangers. And it does open up doors of like, being a little nervous about things. But in this instance, I was like, fuck it, I'm cool. I'm just going to go with the flow. And we could have done a chop right then and there. What was for like 18,000, 15, 17,000 was the straight chop of the tournament and the last outs. It didn't happen. I busted 5th on the bubble. The other 4 guys split everything, and that was it. End of story, Ken.
But the main lesson there is that Serbian guy could have gotten 27th place 30 minutes after you handed him 1,000, left the casino with your guys' 12,000 in his pocket, and maybe never seen him again.
Correct.
And, you're not really thinking about keeping track of the last out coordinator when you're in the middle of a $2,500 tournament. You're concentrating on the $2,500 tournament.
I think when you go to a WSOP or something along those lines, I mean, obviously, like, CCG is different, or your local poker room. Like, if you're at, like, the Horseshoe during the regular week-to-week tournaments, do they still do weekly tournaments? If you're at your local,
yes.
Let's just make it more broad. If you're at your local casino playing the Tuesday night $150 deep stack tournament, and it's the same group of people who play all the time, like it's the same group of people who play the Friday night deep stack at CCG. It's the same group of people who play the Tuesday evening tournament in Elgin or whatever, or Aurora. They're typically the same. Which means you get to know them. You get to know which ones they are. You can do so and be like, oh, there's 8 of us in the $100 last out. Oh, who's in it? Mike, Bill, Joe, Sally, Nancy, Philip, and, Munko. This is always like one random dude with a weird-ass name. I mean, right? It's always one weird with Sammer.
You're like, wait, what was that? Will you spell it out for me?
Oh, Munko's in? Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, Munko.
Then you get to know them, and you don't need to constantly ask like who's in, who's out, what's going on. The tables are smaller. There's 3 to 4 people or 3 to 4 tables in the deep stack, and you can kind of look over and see, and kind of where you're at, and it's much more. It's not a stressful environment with that bonus money, and it is bonus money. I mean, it's awesome. It's all prepaid. Nothing is like borrowed. We have to collect money at the end, because that would be the worst. One person's going to hold it, and yeah, it works out really well. Now go to like the World Series or a circuit event or WPT, and it's like I had a guy come up to me in the 10K Omaha. He's like, "You want to get in the 1K last out?" And I was like, "I don't know who the fuck you are." And the other guy was like, "That's Will Jaffe," and I was like, "I don't know who the fuck that is." They're like, "Well, he's got a bunch of people on Twitter, and everybody knows who he am." And then I texted you and Alex. You're like, "Yeah, Will Jaffe's cool." I was like, "I don't know who that is." I didn't get in. It's a good thing I busted pretty early, so I saved myself $1,000.
You would have saved yourself $1,000 for sure.
But obviously, it's a lot more difficult to get into a last out when you're unaware of like who the people are and what it's a lot harder to do. It's not really realistic to us to tell people in a poker room like, "Oh, just randomly get into a last out and be fine," unless the poker room itself is doing it. Like I played in tournaments down in Texas, scoping out other rooms, and a lot of times they did do it, and it was like a dealer from Texas Card House who was doing the last outs, which was cool. I felt a lot better. Now, if Texas Card House actually had anything to do with it or not, I don't know, but that makes me feel more comfortable. I got into those.
Yeah. Now, the only good thing about the World Series ones is like generally it's reputable names that are running it, even though you don't know it. Like,
I'm teasing.
I would never.
Right. I'm teasing.
Let that happen.
Sure. Or at least it would be out there. Like we would know. Right.
Yeah, because I know that our boy Ben Keyline, he ran $100 last out in like a $500 Colossus. That got
I was gonna say, I think it was the Colossus.
400, 500, 600 people, and it was like 60,000 for that last out for $100.
Man, if it gets that big, do you just like put it in your backpack?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he was like, it was multiple flights, and you're taking it home, and
Sure.
They got 25K chips in their bag, and
yeah, I guess so.
I got 3 of those. That covers everything. We're good.
Yeah. Gambling is a wonderful, weird sport. Okay,
it is.
Questions, Brando. Obviously, I think we've covered the main question, but I'm going to put it up there anyways. When someone asks you, do you want to be in the last outs, what are the first questions that should fire through your head? Now, we're endorsing that last outs are a great way to earn money in a tournament, that you don't have to get all the way to the actual money. It makes the bubble much sooner, which means you can cash in a tournament without cashing in a tournament. I recommend doing so with a couple of little asterisks after it. What are some of those questions? Like, what should you be asking? I'm a stranger at a casino. It's like, hey, would you like to be in the $100 last out?
I mean, you got to make sure it's like you got to cover the basis on what happens if you bust and rebuy.
Okay, so is it and again, some people argue, is it last out, last longer? I think that lingo is not, it's like still slang, so it's not perfectly, defined. I think you just ask, okay, if I buy into the last outs and bust and re-enter, am I still in the last outs, or do I have to repay more to get back in? Right?
Correct.
I think typically, and it's not always, some places are pretty standard one way or the other. You just kind of have to know. But I think, again, the whole point is you need to ask. Ask first. Don't ask afterwards, because it's always like people will go, oh, no, I bought the $20 last out. Well, yeah, but then your aces got cracked and you had to re-enter, which means you busted that tournament. So your $20 last out is gone because you didn't last longer. If you want to get in the last out, you have to get back into the last out. Do you want to get back in the last outs?
Correct.
So number one question, I think, is that. What happens if I re-enter?
You got to repay.
I get that. That was just a question. What's your next question you should ask?
Oh, I was about to say, I was like, I don't know. How much are they? I guess you said $100 last out.
Yeah, I guess maybe how many are they? Is it? I think the number one.
It's kind of unfair to ask how many are in it, especially if they're just starting it.
Yeah,
because that's rather annoying. It's like,
but see, here's the thing, though.
Table.
We're used to being organizers of events, like event planners, and that's not a question you want to ask event planners. Would you like to come to my wedding, Brandon? And then your response is, well, how many people are going? Like, that's not a fucking question. Like, I'm giving you an option. Do you want to go or do you not want to go? You shouldn't rebuttal with, well, how many people are going to show up at the wedding? I have no fucking idea. Who cares? Right. Does it matter? I mean, I guess it matters, but you're not going to come if it's only 20?
It matters for you.
Right. Like, whatever. It's fine. I mean, I know that's not a perfect analogy, but, like, I think, like, don't ask the person doing the last outs, like, how many do you have? Because, like, Does it really matter if there's 3 people in the $100 last out or 10? They're both good, and there's different reasons they're good for both, right? Like if there's 3 people, I only got.
You're gonna have to last farther.
If there's
3, you might like that because Jenny and Mike are out in the first 20 minutes, and you win.
Bam! I just won $200.
Correct.
I'm free rolling this shit. I mean, 100%. So I don't care what it is. If that's not enough people in there, cool. That's just an easy way. And granted, but again, same token, if you're playing a $100 deep stack and there's a $20 last out and only 3 people getting the last out, okay, I won, meaning you're the 4th person to get in, and I win $80 on my 20, which means I'm up $60. That means I played in the tournament for 40. Again, there's no negative to that. That's awesome. Thank you, last out people. I'm excited about it. Now, let's say on the flip side, you're playing the Bird on a Saturday, and there's 90 freaking people in it, and there's 70 of them in the $10 last out. Well, that $10 last out just got super juicy, right? Now you're going to have to
and not only that, it's that last out is the same as first place, and you don't have to get first place.
And you're probably you might be down to 3 people or 4 people, and you're the only one in the $10 last out. That's feasible. 2, all 4 of you are in the last out. You're like, should we just chop that up? Yep, let's do that so that we're less stressed about the bubble and the ICM chop. What are those things called? Pressure, ICM pressure.
Yeah.
Thank you. I got there myself.
I was letting you get there.
Oh, I appreciate you letting me struggle. Last outs are great, and I feel like just do it or don't. Go in with the mindset that you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. That's it. And buy all of them. Don't buy one. Don't buy one. If you got to borrow money, borrow it. The sick thing is when one guy's like, I only got $100 left, so I'm going to get in the 50, the 30, and the 10 or whatever, the 50, the 20, the 10, save myself $20 so I could buy a couple of beers, and then just rip it and find out what happens. And then some dude down the table is like, oh man, Sony didn't get into the $100 last out. Okay, I'm going to buy his $100 last out. This is where the CDO action. Have you ever seen I know you've seen it, but folks out there listening on the podcast, it's the idea of, have you seen The Big Short when they're doing the scene and they're talking about what CDOs are and how they got so out of hand and how it crushed the economy? Is because it's people start betting on what other people are betting on, and that's where things get really crazy. It doesn't really happen in the poker world, but it is the seedy underworld to be like, so-and-so didn't get in the $100. Nancy's a perfect example. Local player, ring winner, and then she doesn't do last out. She just never does. And people are trying to scoop them up. So I always think that's kind of weird, but also cool.
It's it's like side action on the side action.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's side action on the side action. It's the CDOs of the world. It's they couldn't sell them originally, so now they're just going to package a bunch of them up and resell them. It's just wait, what? How is that possible? It is, and it doesn't matter. It's still one or the other. I always really find that I find it wild. Yeah, when people are buying other people's last outs that aren't even in the tournament.
Which is weird because they should be buying them themselves. I don't know. This is where I get fired up on the subject. It's if you pay $120 to get into the deep stack, how do you not want to pay 30 more unraked dollars?
I understand this though, because I want to put this out there. The unraked portion of it is huge. That's the number one reason to do it. Is it's unraked.
It's huge.
It's such a positive that it sounds stupid saying it out loud. Obviously that's a positive. No, that's how good it is though. 2, it's a smaller subsect of the tournament, which means you don't have to get as far. The bubble moves from top 15% down to probably 20, 25, 30%. Which, again, How many times you get into a tournament? I feel like most tournaments I play in, I get into the top third and then fuck it up and don't cash. Well, man, if I was in that last out and you know what I mean? It's a possibility, that really big last out, and there was only 7 guys that got in the big one, and 6 of them got busted, or 5 of them got busted. Me and the other guy are like, hey, man, you want to chip? Yeah, that's cool. And a lot of times people are in the same boat you are. They're like, yeah, fuck it, I'll take the free money now. Unless I've got $1 million in chips and you got 80,000, 9 times out of 10, they're just going to chop. So I think that's a huge bonus. I do understand, though, when people don't do it, and I will give an example. When I played in the $10,000 PLO tournament, they were doing a 1, 5, and 10 last out. 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. And I was just like, I'm out. I don't have any. I put all my eggs in this basket. Like, I'm done. So I understand that it's relative, right? Somebody might be playing the $20 early bird. And that's the last $20 they got, and they got to win it to go on. You know, it is what it is.
Fine. I'll accept that.
There is a small, you got to give a little bit of hope there to the bust outs of the world. And in a 10K PLO tournament, I am a full-grown bust out.
So I will say the early bird is maybe the one where it's like, all right, well, the buy-in's 20. The $20 last out is doubling the buy-in. Like, that's kind of expensive in relative terms. But the cheap ones in the big tournaments, I don't understand.
Oh, you don't understand why they're offered.
I don't know. I don't understand why people don't get in them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're playing a $200 tournament and there's a $20 last out, why are you not in the $20 last out? Stupid.
I'm driving
Get it in there.
To this place to pay $20 rake on my 120 buy-in to beat 70 people. Ooh. Why am I not paying 20 and 10 additional dollars unraked to beat less than that when I'm already here? I don't know. To me, it just seems like a no-brainer. But
and also, I feel like the likelihood of last outs being chopped are significantly higher than a number of players who are anti-chop in a tournament.
Agreed. They're way more likely to chop the last outs.
Meaning, if you get a guy who's like, I never chop, we're playing it out, and then that guy's in the $50 last out, and it's you and him, and it's $600, it's 300 piece, and you go, hey man, you want to chop the 50? Yeah, that's fine. Like, they just instantly chop that one, even though they want to play the whole tournament out. I think like you definitely you're at like a 95% if you get down to two people in any of those last outs. So you don't even need to get down to the last out. You got to get down to like the final 2 or 3. You know,
for sure.
So it's not even like you got to win it.
Yeah, sometimes not even.
Yeah, I've seen last outs. I have 100%. I have 100% done a 5-way $100 last out where one guy was in 3 times. I will not say his name. And me and the other guy were in once. And the guy who was in for 3 bullets bricked. And then we were just like, chop up his 300? Absolutely. We just chopped up his 300. Like, that's all we did. I mean, it was like, this is great. Like, you know, it is what it is. He knew what we were going to do.
Something that feels good about winning the last out money, too.
Yeah, it's like...
it feels good to just have it in your pocket
it's just free money.
Like, you're the only one that's cashed so far. It's just you guys. Nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
It really does suck when you win the tournament and you aren't in the last outs.
Or you find out there are last outs and you weren't invited, because then it's not only did I miss out on that money, I also missed out on the popularity that anyone would ask me to be in the last out.
For sure.
You know?
Absolutely.
So it is kind of nice when like an organizer comes around to each table. Like, then it's you should 100% get into it. You know, and that happens at a lot of the poker rooms. You know, it's a little bit different when it's some like skater kid in a backpack at the Horseshoe asking me if I want to get in the $200 last out for the Colossus. I'm a little like, ugh. I mean, at that point, I'm willing to risk the $200 to get in. But it's a little bit more unofficial, and you kind of have to take that for what it is, right? It depends on how big it is and who's orchestrating it. It does get a little, you know, you just got to keep an eye on it, you know? I would say that.
Yeah, the smaller and the tight knit that the last outs are, it's the better they are.
The better they are, and the more and the matrix of should I get in or should I not is like so skewed to the you should be doing this. Like, everybody who plays a $20 early bird, you should 100% be getting in the 5 or 10 last out. Do they do a $5 last out?
No, 10, but the
10. I mean, a $10 last out is great, and again, it's like 60% of the field's going to do it. It's like, man, and
right, you got 25 guys in there that do it. There's there's 250 extra bucks, which happens to be what third place is.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're rocking down to get down to the final 2 tables. You're really nowhere near the money. And even when you do get in the money, 9th place is 30 or 40 bucks.
Yeah, it's nothing.
So it doesn't really matter.
No.
But all of a sudden there's 18 left. And you look, oh, there's only 5 in the last house. Like, all right, cool. Now here we go. Like, we got something brewing up, and we're not even close to making actual money.
Yeah, I love last outs. I always do last outs. Even if I don't know people, my comfortableness of losing that money versus the rewards of what you get when you do win, I think are good enough.
And again, the cheap ones are just kind of no brainers. The 10 and the 20 and $100 plus, it just makes the rake good. Like now it's not 100 plus 20, it's 130 plus 20. Well, now your rake percentage is lower.
Everything's lower.
Everything's lower.
Your
And then if you want to be the asshole, that doesn't chop, okay, cool. You want to chop the tournaments, but don't chop the last outs because it's so cheap. That's kind of fun too.
Yep.
It's a $100 buy-in, and there's 18 people in the 100. It's only $180. I don't want to chop it 3 ways for $60 each. Like, let's just play it out. It's $10.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, cool. Well, the tournament's still a $100 buy-in, and it's still $1,500 for first or whatever. Like, you're still playing for that, but I don't know. And on top of it, when you look at a juicy $100 or $200 last out, and there's only 3, 4, 5 guys in it, you got to be like, well, dude, I got a chance to get 4th place money here by 3 of these idiots busting out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like the best players are doing the last outs.
No.
You would perceive like, oh, well, the best 5 players in the tournament are the only ones that are doing the 200. No, it's just the guys that have extra money on them, or the guys that are willing to gamble more.
Or the people who see the
value in only beating 4 guys and having 1,000.
I will put myself up against those 5 guys because anything can fucking happen. Like,
I mean, there's a chance where if there's a $100 last out in a CCG 120 and there's 4 players in it, there's a chance you cash it before registration closes.
Correct.
Or
it's happened before.
2 hours into the tournament.
It's happened before.
For sure. Because sometimes people are like, I'm going to rebuy, but I'm not getting back in the 100. I'm not chasing my own money. It's 33% of it's my money anyways, or I don't have enough, or whatever. And yeah, it's easy peasy.
Agreed.
So get into damn last outs, especially the cheap ones in the expensive tournaments. Because I guarantee you, if there was a that 10K PLO, if there was a $200 last out, you would have snap called and just handed the guy $200.
Yeah. 100%.
Not knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in for 10,000. Might as well be in for 10,200.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. I'm in for 100.
Right.
I'm in for 120. Might as well make it 140.
Just keep going.
That's it. That's all I got on last outs. Get in them.
I like last outs. You should get in them. There's no reason not to, except for the very few reasons that we gave on
right. Unless it's a random guy that you're handing money to that nobody in the poker world knows, and there's a chance he skedaddles with all of our money. Short of that, that's like the only negative I can think of.
Right. And even then, it's like, get in there.
Just get in there. We're here gambling. Let's just gamble that this guy's going to be all right.
I'm sure he's fine. He looks trustworthy.
I'm sure he's fine. Anybody know that guy? No, I've never seen him before.
Just gave $1,000 to some random dude. Anybody know him? No, I've never seen him before. I don't know who that guy is. Fuck. Maybe he'll be back.
Yeah, but you're still like, fuck. But maybe it'll be all right.
Maybe it'll. Again, it's a gamble. I was much more likely to gamble that many years ago than I am now. So, it is what it is. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the CCG Poker YouTube channel, which is where you can find the Overlay, a poker podcast on YouTube. Otherwise, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can find it on the CCG Poker website, the only sponsor of this podcast, because that's what we got. If you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter or check out Brandon and I at the next event that you find us. You can always hit us up on Twitter. We'll let you know when and where we're going to be, and we're a lot more fun in person, I promise. Brando, lead us out of here.
Farewell all. Get in those damn last outs.
Last longers.